All right, guys. So welcome to the Be More podcast. So I'm here today with Charlie Hendry, who's a former Royal Marine, bodyguard for some high-profile celebs. Katy Perry, one of them. We'll talk about one of that later. A £1 million drug deal, getting a 10-year prison sentence, and turning it around and becoming a High Rocks ambassador, and much, much more. So yeah, welcome. Thanks for coming in today, Charlie.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. Right, so I've been super excited for this one. I know we were talking before we started, so I was asking all the questions that I was going to ask now anyway. So it's been a bit of a journey for you since, probably since you're in your early 20s, and I remember before you were saying that you started in the Royal Marines. Was it early 20s now or something like that? 16. You were 16?
16 when I joined the Marines.
Wow. Okay, so just as we were discussing before, I don't really like to go back to what were you into when you were born? Like, no one knows about any of that. So 16-year-old you, like, what made you get signed up for the Marines? How did that happen? What was the score?
So as a young kid, I was living in Sunderland, and there wasn't really much opportunity for me after school. And my father was in the military, so he was always a big, huge inspiration for me. And seeing his sense of adventure and the things he'd experienced, I kind of wanted the same. Yeah. But more so, joining the Marines was a way out of Sunderland, do something with my life, make my parents proud. And I remember my mother telling me that the Royal Marines was one of the hardest basic infantry training to get into. So I thought, wow, what a challenge. 16 years old, proved to myself that I could do this, make something with my life. And yeah, down to the careers office.
So you literally just finished school, right?
So I turned 16 in July. I arrived at Lympstone to start my training in December.
Wow.
I was the youngest recruit to go through training at that time. I must have been 10 and a half stone piss wet through. Training team used to take the mick out of me because I was so skinny. One guy, Baz Weston, would always be like, "Recruit Hendry, go to the store and get some arms," because I was so skinny, he'd say. But I was there surrounded by all of these men, all ages, from all walks of life, straight from school. The only job I'd had was a paper round. So it was a huge, huge achievement and massively out of my comfort zone at that young age.
Wow. So just to give a bit of a super quick overview of how that process works. So you go down to the local recruitment centres, you did it at the time. Then what do you have to do to qualify to start? Do you have to qualify even to get into the first bit of training? Like how does someone actually go, right, you're now an official Marine?
Okay, so it starts by trip to the careers office. You then have to do a series of tests. You then get invited down to Lympstone. Back when I done it, was called the PRMC, Potential Royal Marines course. It was a 3-day induction. You'd get thrashed around, physical tests, written tests. If you pass that, you then get invited back for start date of training. Training is 32 weeks long, which it was back then. And it's just a series of challenges and a process that you have to go through, all in order each week to get you fitter, stronger, and develop you into that Royal Marine Commando, if you like.
Yeah.
At the end of training, you have to overcome series of challenges and tests to earn the Green Beret. Once you succeed and pass that, you then become a Royal Marine, you pass out and you go to your unit.
So how long did that full process take you to actually get to the point where you get into your unit?
I passed out just after I was 17. So I turned July.
So it's a pretty quick turnout then, really, isn't it? It must have been intense year.
8.5 months to training. So about a year process.
Wow. What was the most, what was the most difficult point of the training journey? Do you remember, do you have some points where I'm got on the verge of quitting, I can't do this, or what was going through your mind? What was the tough parts?
Yeah, you get that so many times.
Yeah.
There's so many times that can creep in. I think I had that moment once where I actually phoned my parents and I was contemplating leaving and coming home, and they just give me some reassurance. I changed my mind, and then since that day, I think what got me through more than anything, it was just that determination and that visualizing earning that Green Beret. I had nothing to go back home to. A few teachers said I wouldn't be able to make it in the Marines. That stayed with me all the way through training, that I wanted to prove them wrong. And no matter how hard or tough it got, I was just never going to quit, no matter how long it took.
Yeah, good for you, man. Awesome. So you got into Marines at 17, you were in with a unit by then, okay. So what happened after that then? What was the next step? So how long were you in the Marines for? So did you travel the world, and what happened?
Yeah, when I passed out of training, I was 17. I've gone to my unit, 4-5 Commando, based in Scotland. This was just before the terrorist attack with the Twin Towers. So that then massively, as you know, shaped and changed the trajectory of the military career throughout the years that followed. The guys went to Afghanistan in 2001. I was too young. I had to stay behind. So I had to do a rear party.
How were you old?
17.
So you're still 17?
Still 17.
Yeah. Right, okay.
So if it come down from Parliament, anybody under 18, they can't go, they have to stay behind. So I had to watch all the lads deploy, which was a tough time because I'd done all the training with some of the guys. I'd earned my, place in the unit with the team, and I had to stay behind and watch them deploy.
Yeah.
They came back. 2003, I went to Iraq on the initial invasion. I was Cat 2 supporting the SAS. Then after that, I did a tour of Northern Ireland, another tour of Iraq, doing maritime board and search operations. And then a huge life-changing operation for me was Afghanistan in 2006.
Okay. So just before we come on to that bit then, so what was what disciplines and things do you feel like you learned through that process that are now helping you later on in life? Because I think a lot of people, no matter what it is that you've done, if you've done something really hard, you don't realize at the time how much you're actually learning, right? So what's it? Do you feel like that set you up to do so many more things, which obviously you have, which we're going to discuss soon? Like, did you realize how much you were actually learning at that time, or not?
So I'd say the biggest thing that has stayed with me from that young age is mindset.
Okay.
And the characteristics, the values, the principles, the morals, the standards that they instill in you at that young age, and maybe didn't appreciate at the time.
Yeah.
But stuff like the determination, the courage, unselfishness, the cheerfulness in adversity, being able to adopt a positive mindset through dark times is something instilled in me then that has definitely helped me over the years overcome some of life's biggest challenges.
Okay. So you went back to say that the Afghanistan tour was a massive life-changing moment for you, if I remember rightly,
sure.
you said. What was? Can you talk to me about that? Or
I think Afghanistan, I was 22 years old. With the Royal Marines, you're under no illusion. You join to fight, essentially, if needed. We went out to Afghanistan. Within 3 weeks, I was fighting Taliban on a day-to-day basis. It was relentless. Every day you can wake up thinking it could be your last. You see people around you be killed. There's death, destruction everywhere. And at 22 years old, you're exposed to that. You are trained for it. So as the tour went on over that 6 months, you become a lot more hardened. You see and are exposed to a lot more things. And it's life-changing in a way that it does really put things into perspective. So when we come back from there, the harsh reality of war was you actually lost friends and then people didn't return home. And that'll stay with you forever.
Yeah. So it's they put pros into train you up for these things, but sure, like there's nothing that can even, what they can't train you up for is actually the emotions you're going to feel. You don't even know how they're going to feel, I suppose, right? So, you kind of understand it logically, but when you're actually in that situation, I bet no like sort of training can even come close to helping you get through that. You've just got to do it, I suppose, haven't you? Is that kind of the...
Yeah, for sure. And everyone handles it differently. We can all experience the same situation, but some people might deal with it and struggle with it in a different way than others.
Yeah.
You can do all the training, like you said, to prepare for something, but until it happens for real, nothing can prepare you through rounds, bullets coming back at you. Yeah. You can do all the simulations you like, but until they start coming the other way, that's when things get real.
Do your instincts just kick in, your adrenaline, then you just... Because sometimes, like, you'll see it on TV programs, films and stuff. It's like, how can you actually be that focused? But does your adrenaline just kick in and it just happens, or have you got to really force yourself? Because I bet for most people, a natural reaction would be to just run as far as you can, right? Like,
you've got to remember all the training you've gone through. You practice, you drill, you rehearse. Yeah. Adrenaline kicks in, but the training kicks in also. So my first time under fire, we were pinned down under a sandbag. It was initiated by an RPG behind us, exploded. We were pinned down. Literally, you drop for what cover you could. You try and get as low as you can in that position. Rounds was hitting all around where our heads were. Sand was covering me. And fear does kick in, but you learn to kind of harness it in that situation. The training takes over, so you act again on instinct, what you've been trained to do in that situation. So you then, with the team, you communicate and do what you need to do to overcome that situation.
Wow, so it's been that drilled into you, like it just kicks in, like, wow.
Yeah. Wow. Everyone communicates. You know where someone should be. If you're getting fired at, say, from one position, the tactics and the drills that you've rehearsed will take over on the day. They say no plan survives the first round of contact, which is true. But a big thing that you do learn and instilled in you is adaptability and being able to overcome adversity in them situations.
Wow. And that's obviously gone on to serve you well beyond being in Marines as well.
I'd say the mindset more than ever, 100%.
Awesome. So at what point did you then leave? So was this after that tour in Afghanistan? Like, was it far after that you actually left?
Yeah, so after Afghanistan, I came home. I was at a bit of a crossroads. Do I stay in, do more of the same? Or do I leave and pursue a career in close protection? So I had friends at the time who was working in Iraq, earning big money out there. I had a girlfriend at the time that probably helped influence my decision. I was young, again, making decisions with my heart, not my head. I've decided to leave, and I was only 24, and then I've gone down the close protection, the security route.
Yeah, so I believe you've been worked with Katy Perry, Elton John, Daniel Radcliffe, any other big names that our listeners might know?
To name a few. Should I just drop them on the floor? Well, I started off doing my security first in and around London, just red carpet events, trying to get my name out there, networking.
How did you get to actually do that? Like, what did you...
It's all for who you know, the contacts. So on the circuit with the Marines, a lot of people know similar people. We have similar friends and contacts. There was a guy that ran a security company doing events in London. I initially got involved with him. He actually ran the contract for Elton John in Europe.
Yep.
So he put me forward with an interview for David, went into London, had that. That's how the Elton John one materialized. I started off by working on super yachts, transiting through the Indian Ocean and the Gulf of Aden to protect them from pirates. Mm-hmm. Not like Jack Sparrow pirates, but real Somalian pirates. That was cool. They were some of my favorite jobs then. On board big super yachts with weapons, just transiting through these like amazing waters. It's incredible.
That's crazy. But then, but you're on the super yacht going through this, and then at next minute, people are trying to take over your yacht. Like, was it regularly like encounters with all the time?
At the times when I done it, if pirates seen we was on there, we'd do a show of force, and then if needed, we'd fire warning shots. And a lot of them are not in it really for a gunfight. They just want an easy target, so they just let you go and wait for the next boat.
So what, they trying to rob everything that's on the boat, or actually steal the boat, or kidnap people for ransom, or like?
For the yachts, they'll just ransack it. They'll just go shopping on it, just take everything, the valuables, the possessions. If they could kidnap some crew, that's a bonus. With the bigger tankers and the cargo ships, they take them for ransom purposes.
Wow. Yeah, crazy that, isn't it? But I bet that was like nothing compared to what you'd done
I used to say that was just like a floating detox farm.
Like a holiday.
Yeah, sunbathing, great food, just in the water, sunset, sunrises, amazing. But from the piracy stuff, I've then gone out to Iraq and done hostile close protection out there.
Right.
So I was working in a place called Tikrit, and we were basically just armed security details, escorting engineers around certain locations. And I'd done that for several months. And it was whilst I was on leave, I got a call from the guys that I used to do the super yachts with for a job in Bangladesh, and that was with Emma Watson. So that was my turning point where I was like, oh, do I stay with Iraq, the sandpit, I've done that, or do I transition down the other route of the celebrities, the rich and famous? So yeah, I didn't go back to Iraq. I flew out to Bangladesh with Emma Watson.
Sounded like a better deal.
Better deal.
So what did you actually manage to get much time with them? Like, were you literally next to them a lot, or did you actually get to speak to them, get to know them properly? These, A-list people.
Yeah, so different clients is different. With Emma Watson, there was just me, her makeup artist, and a PA. Right. So it was literally just us as a group and as a team. So there was loads of exposure, loads of interaction with the client. You have to be, obviously, you're by her side, literally wherever you go, out and about. Elton John, we have apartments in Nice. We are at the villa throughout the day. And then whenever Elton leaves the house, we'll go with him. 1, 2, 3 guys. Loads of interaction in the car, loads of talking. Elton's actually, I've got nothing but good things to say about Elton. He's such a nice guy. He's really generous. He's really interested in you as a person. He'll ask you questions. He actually cares. Where
he helped Eminem get sober, didn't he?
I believe so.
Yeah. Don't quote me on that, but maybe Google it if you're listening to this.
But I had a client from America, used to be one of the richest guys in America. With him, there was hardly any interaction. It's literally on a standoff basis. So he likes you there, but
very transactional.
Doesn't really like to speak to you. So you kind of, I was overseeing, making sure everything's going all right, everything runs smooth, but not much interaction. Oh. So it depends on the client.
Any top lessons for any of meeting these A-list celebrity people? Like, is there anything that really stuck with you? So any lessons you learned from working with like Elton or?
I'd say no matter how rich or famous they are, they're all just normal people.
Yeah,
and they all have the same issues, same problems that everybody else. One thing that I did learn from, say, rich or famous people or any driven, successful people is they all kind of have a passion, or they all pursue a passion that they do every day. So they're just the choices they make. Like Elton with his music, he's so passionate about it. He lives and breathes that. He has a definite purpose. And I feel like that translates to anybody. If you find a passion and a purpose in life, it will lead you to success.
Yeah. Yeah. So you just got to get just over obsessed with anything you do, isn't it? I'm a big believer in that. Like, I think I just naturally just hyper fixate on one thing and I just do it and I can't take my mind off it. And that's been the same ever since I opened the first gym and got into fitness. So.
And was that your passion to start with that you pursued?
No, when I was young, like I hated it. Like I remember in school doing a PE exam and I just looked at it, closed it and put my head on. Do you know when you used to go out on the desk at school? And I was like, I'm not even interested. I was like, what's this? Is just stupid.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I'm a very hands-on people person. You know, to me to sit and read a book just to put a tick in a box, you know, it wasn't really and I remember PE at school, it wasn't really, it didn't inspire you to want to work out because it's so judgmental and things like that. So fitness is now my background, but no, I hated it at school. And then
I was the same at school, wasn't really that sporty, didn't really do much before the Marines, went boxing a few times. That was it. Sport and the fitness is something I found later on in life. Yeah.
I think it's good. I found it's probably a coping mechanism as well. Like it's Yeah, like because I think it's one of the easiest things you can do to start to bet yourself, is set yourself a fitness goal, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
That's how I started it off, and you know, it was more whether you class bodybuilding as fitness. Like I did like physique stuff and photo shoots, but that was my goal to get in shape, and then all the other discipline you learn from that.
But to get in shape does require discipline,
exactly,
and determination. Doing all the sessions you have to do, even when you don't feel like it. Staying regimented, staying structured, sticking to a routine.
Well, I think you can, you know, it might be controversial saying this, but I think you can see just by looking at someone's appearance and physique and the way they talk and approach themselves and what they do outside of work, you can see what sort of person they actually are. You know, like it's very important. Like when we're looking for franchisees, we ask for like questions like, what have they achieved for themselves? Because if they've not been disciplined and, you know, can't just put the fork down to lose a few pounds, then how are they going to be able to look after 200 members and count their, you know, the finances and make sales?
Do you not find some people, professionals though, are really professional and amazing in what they do in profession, but then in the personal life, it's kind of the opposite?
I think it depends though, because I think what I found is that like you get people that are disciplined for anything that's to do with work.
Yeah.
Like I can be a bit like disorganized in my personal life, but anything that happens in my personal life that's to do with being better at work, I'm absolutely amazing at.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like if I couldn't manage my calendar for my personal life, I'm definitely able to not be disciplined at work. Whereas like house jobs and stuff, not that great.
Same.
So, but yeah, no, it's a good question actually. Yeah. So in terms of, so you've gone from doing the close protection stuff, and then probably the biggest one that's going to be the title on the title of this podcast is, how did you manage to end up getting a 10-year prison sentence? Like, what was the transition to that?
So throughout my close protection years, I always say I was really driven, motivated. I was doing great. I had a really good relationship with all of the clients. I reached what I like to think of as the pinnacle of the close protection years. I was looking after a countess living out with the Bahamas. We'd fly around the world on a private jet. She had a private island. It was an amazing job and a detail. I had a girlfriend at the time, running theme that me making decisions for my love life. And I decided to take a summer break. My biggest decision, when people say, did you regret what you've done? I don't regret it because it's led me to where I am now. But I look back and maybe I wouldn't have made that decision to leave my client. I decided to leave her and go to the Ibiza for the summer. I said I was taking a summer break. I didn't need a summer break. I'd been to Ibiza the year before several times on holiday. I knew that decision was wrong. So I've ended up driving to Ibiza with my girlfriend. We've got there, moved in with 2 tour managers of 2 of the island's most popular DJs. I was then living throughout that whole summer with shame, regret, remorse, started to take drugs. I've got quite an addictive personality and I've always channeled it into maybe the fitness, the work, doing well. When I've lost structure and routine and I've stopped training, the wheels come off, started to take more drugs. The more drugs I'm taking, the more I'm filled with shame, regret, and I'm digging myself into a hole. And I was taking more drugs to try and shut out those feelings. And it just, throughout the summer, it just got worse and worse. At the end of the summer, I was burgled. I had all my possessions taken, my money to return home, my watch, my laptop. Still taking drugs at that time. I've had to borrow money to get back from Ibiza. So when I've come back home from Ibiza now, I've got no money, I've got a bad habit, and I'm just making bad decisions after bad decisions. I've been asked to collect a shipment of drugs. For me, it was a case of...
Is this while you're still in Ibiza?
No, this is when I got back.
Right.
So I'd spent 4 months partying. We'd come back, literally come back on such a negative because of the burglary. I was still taking drugs when I got home. And the one thing about when you take drugs on a daily basis like that is your perception of reality is completely distorted. So although I thought I was in control, all the morals, the standards, the values that I lived by throughout the military career, throughout my bodyguarding, was just literally nowhere to be seen. So I was a shadow of my former self. I've agreed to do the driving job. I've then walked into a full-blown surveillance operation. So myself and my girlfriend, we was arrested.
So someone just literally, someone you knew through a friend of a friend or something. So do you want a bit of money? Can you go and pick this up for us?
Yeah, so someone I'd met previously asked me if I'd collect a shipment of drugs. I didn't know the amount. I knew what it was. I agreed. The events unfolded not how it was planned. I was meant to take a car. They were going to put the drugs in suitcases, put it into the back of the car. I was going to drive to London, not even touch or see the drugs. On the day of the event, I've needed to get a van. I've gone along with it. Things were changing and unfolding throughout the day, and all the warning signs were there. I was just ignoring my gut instinct, and I was going through for it anyway. When I've got to the yard, they've just picked a pallet on a forklift truck and just dropped it into the back of the van. That was a real fuck.
What have I done here?
The scale of that, the amount of it, yeah. So then I've had to then break the drugs down, separate them into cases.
We're still taking drugs at this time?
Still taking drugs.
Yeah. So you think, everyone's a good idea, isn't it? Yeah.
You don't think of the consequences of your actions whilst you're in that mental state.
Subconsciously, you know it's wrong, but your consciousness is going, yeah, great, everything will be fine, yeah. And
because I'd been taking drugs all summer in Ibiza, it kind of becomes the norm in a weird way, and you're thinking, well, what's the chances of me getting caught today on a one-off? So we was arrested, put into the cells. We were caught.
Where did you get caught then?
Just outside Stafford.
What?
Brown Hills. They were watching us. So the whole thing was we were under surveillance.
Right.
So they had intel from whoever else was involved. They were watching us when we arrived at the location, followed us all the way with the drugs, and then they waited till we was on the motorway to head down south, and then they pulled us over.
Shit.
That feeling of them blue lights still haunts me to this day, because that's when reality kicks in of I'm now in a car with my girlfriend with a suitcase full of drugs in the boot of the car. There's no way out. You knew that.
Is it like a full pallet as well?
Full pallet.
Shit.
It's like 35 kilos.
Fucking hell.
And at that time...
What was it? What was the...
MDMA.
Right, okay.
MDMA.
Mm.
But that feeling of knowing that your life now will never be the same, and it's about to go down a new complete trajectory, and just your life was just unfold with like all the pain and the misery that would follow.
So I presume you're arrested there and then like taken to a place, and then I've spoken to many people, I've gone through this process before. So I presume you weren't locked up for the whole period, you know, did you get before that, the main court date and things? Was it an ongoing case that was built up and then you had to go to court and then it was all, did you get freedom back for a short period of time while it was all being investigated?
Exactly that. So
that's the worst part, waiting, isn't it?
Yeah, so we was arrested on the Wednesday. We were taken to the courts on the Friday. We were both remanded into custody. So I went to HMP Winton Green in Birmingham. I always say it was the worst jail that I ever went to. That was the most dark, toxic, volatile place. That's the most stressed and depressed I've ever been in life. Literally, my whole world has been turned upside down, put into a prison cell.
Just give me could you just give me a bit of a summary of like what was it about it? What you're on alert in case you're getting attacked, or like just what was it like going in there?
It's a mixture of everything. Firstly, if we go through the mindset side of it, you now have to accept that you've lost control over your life, that someone else is making all the decisions for you. You've got no control of this situation. You're put in a cell, the door's locked, you're alone with your thoughts. When the door's open and you're out on the wing, jail can be very, very volatile. It's like a pressure cooker just waiting to go off, and you're surrounded by violent people, a mixture of all like walks from society. So it's being safe. It's a dangerous place. And then also as well, the pain that you put everybody and your loved ones through as well. Do you know who's going through that situation? They have to come and see you in there. That's obviously not a nice experience for those. But yeah, just day to day navigating through prison is a challenge in itself.
Yeah, I bet it is, yeah. Shit. And how long were you there for before you moved again?
So I was remanded for 3.5 months, and then I got bail on Valentine's Day. I got bail for 8 months. I was on tag. To be honest, that was good because the first 3.5 months on remand, I always say was the most negative and dark. I wasn't still training or exercising or anything at that point. I was just literally living in probably self-pity, regret, remorse, hardly ever sleeping. The diet now, food was shocking. When I got bail, my mindset completely shifted. Stopped smoking instantly. Next day I was back at the gym. I was training, even the littlest bit of exercise, because I knew how much that would help me get my life back on track and the mindset back how it used to be. I was on bail for the whole 8 months. And then when I've got through the trial, we went for a 5-week trial, got the guilty, gone down the stairs. As soon as I got into prison that time, it was a complete 360 of how it was before. As soon as my cell doors open in the morning, I was training. I went in with a positive mindset. I knew now that this is a lesson that I have to go through in order to find maybe a true path and a true purpose.
So can you just, so is it, so as soon as it, how long do you get in the day where it's open for then?
Depends. So sometimes you can be 23-hour bang up with 1 hour out your cell for exercise. They might let you out for some food. The best thing you can do in prison is get on courses or get jobs. So you can still work in there. It's like a community within the walls and the premises. I managed to get on some fitness courses. So I just wanted to, in there, pursue fitness. That was a passion, something I was really interested in pursuing once I left jail. So I thought I'll do my level 2, managed to do that. Got a transfer to a prison in Doncaster, and I was able to do my level 3 personal training qualification.
So if you get some days you're in there for 23 hours, apart from sleep, like what do you actually do?
Press ups.
Is it literally like
nah, do you know what? I always say this. So you lose control over your whole life, as in your decisions, and the situation you can't control, but you can control your actions within that situation. Mm-hmm. So for example, I would still try and adhere to routines to make me feel a bit normal and human. Some people might lie in bed all day and just try and sleep away the sentence all the time. Me, I'd still get up early. I'd exercise. I'd have my breakfast, have my coffee, maybe journal, write things down, read, try and keep your mind stimulated as much as you can.
How long did it take to, because I presume it felt normalized by at some point, you just got used to it. Like how long did it take you to adapt to right, this is just my normal day now? Like because it must have been very uncomfortable, even still, like even though you're in your routine. Like how long did it just feel part of your normal life to actually? Because did you like settle in, or like, not settle in is the wrong word,
you do settle in. But honestly,
like,
it becomes home.
Like
you
home,
adapt to your surroundings, it become comfortable. Your cell, I used to make it as comfortable as I could. My pictures up, dead tidy, little comforts and accessories you could have there to make you feel a little bit like home.
Did it feel a long time? Like,
yeah.
Did it just drag?
Sometimes it doesn't, but like with anything, I say if you follow structure or routine, it can make time go fast. You keep yourself busy, it can go quite quick.
Yeah.
But I remember being inside on my first Christmas thinking, wow, I've got 5 Christmases to go. Like it was hard to see light at the end of the tunnel at that stage. So just like the military training, you just got to break it down. Try and see it in stages. Try not to think too far ahead and just try and focus on, say, short-term goals. So for me, it would just be maybe weeks at a time. And then before you know it, like summer's here, Christmas is here, or another summer, another Christmas, and you're just ticking it off as you go.
I bet the courses and having all that to focus on, I bet it flew, didn't it? Then?
And the training. And do you know what you'd be surprised about with prison, which I found it hard when I was going in there at first, is finding good people. Because although people are in there for making bad decisions, it doesn't make them a bad person. So like, I'm not a bad person. I just made a bad decision and I paid the price for it by going to prison. I actually found some good friends in there, which, to be honest, I was grateful for, because you can spend time with them people. Conversations help each other through. You see each other at your bottom where you've lost everything. There's no cars, there's no nights out, there's no this, that and the other. You're just literally stripped bare of everything and you just got, you'll say, yourself, your personality. So it was great to find people you could communicate with and gym partners.
Yeah.
Good training partner in jail. You can get each other through. I had a few of them and all you do is just bounce off each other.
Is it good kit as well? Like, is it pretty like,
some of the gyms
well
are now
kitted,
decent.
Yeah. Yeah, because I nothing on the same level that you've been on, but I found the best routine was like last 12 weeks when we had lockdown. Like just going, literally just, because I was living in an apartment at the time, so there was nothing to do. It was Preston, dark, gloomy, depressed, and it's called that for a reason. When you kidding? But it's the routine of me just going to my own gym and coming back, and that's the happiest I'd felt for a long time, well before lockdown.
Yeah.
So it's all about you just working towards things all the time. I think that's I think it's an amazing lesson for anyone in life if you can get into it. It's just, if you can keep consistent and have your mind focused on something, you're going to feel better about yourself as you're achieving something, aren't you?
For sure. And people used to say to us in jail, like, why do you train so much? Because you've got nothing really essentially to train for. There's no competitions, there's no holidays. But we'd always just say you're training for your own mental and physical health. Yeah. So if you're doing hard, challenging things in jail through the training, it then makes you more mentally strong to deal with the shit of the daily routine of prison. Yeah. And also it's exerting that energy and releasing them endorphins, and it does make you feel better.
So waking up on the final day, you know, you're being released, what were the feelings and emotions you're going through?
It was a mixture, because it was a roller coaster of a journey, the highs, the lows. To know that now it's come to an end and you can put it behind you, was a feeling of excitement, sadness, because obviously it is quite a traumatic thing to go through over them years. So you do feel a little bit emotional when you're released. When I was released though, it was kind of the start of a new journey. So it meant I'd have to do 5 years on license. So although I served 5 years inside, my sentence was 10 years. So for the remaining 5, I'd have to go to probation every month. I wasn't allowed to leave the country, and I was still on some sort of conditions. So it was kind of, you had your freedom back, but it still felt like
someone's breathing down your
chain
neck
was
a
on
bit,
your foot. You weren't fully free. I never really had that day until March last year, when my sentence was completely over after the 10 years. That elation of freedom that I knew I had my life back, that was amazing.
Yeah. Shit. Man, what a journey. So when you came out, did it feel like, had the world changed in a way? Or did you feel still connected to the outer world? Like, did you feel like a lot had changed, like, in the world when you actually came out? Like, how secluded do you feel when you're in? Like, had much changed when you like managed to get like your freedom to roam the UK back? Or
I think the best thing for me being released is my last year of prison. I was in a DCAT, which is open prison, so you can then work out. So I had a job in an office, so I traveled to the office in the morning, do my work, back to prison on a night time. So it was kind of like a taste of freedom, if you like. So I kind of had that little sense of escapism from the jail for the day.
That alone was a relief, wasn't it? Starting that, yeah.
That was good. So that kind of helps you integrate back into society. So then when I was released on the day, I was kind of already had the taste of the freedom.
Yeah, yeah. And it's mad because it, like, imagine talking about stuff like this 10, 15, 20 years ago. There used to be a lot more stigma around someone that had got a criminal record into prison. But now it's just like, I think the world's becoming more open-minded. And I think it's more like, there's not nowhere near as much judgment, and everyone's like, oh yeah, wow, that must have been tough. And I think everyone accepts other people's mistakes.
But I always say this, because when I first released, I was judged a lot, because you've kind of got the label of you're a drug dealer, and it was all over the papers. So you have that negative association with your name. But I always say, no one lived my mistake more than me. I spent all them nights in a prison cell with regret and shame. So that what I had to do more than anything was accept it and own it. Because I thought, at the end of the day, I'll own that mistake more than anybody, but I'll use that mistake as a lesson. And I'll show people it doesn't matter how much of rock bottom you've hit, there's always a way you can come back from it. So when I was released, I would speak about it, I talk about it. I don't wear it like a badge of honor. I'm not proud of it. It's something that is a negative time in my life, but I've hopefully turned that negative into a positive now.
Yeah. So you came out. So you came out in prison, and then now you're doing, like, you're a High Rocks ambassador. How have we got to this point? How have we got? If it's literally just a year ago now, what's the journey from going from there to sat here with me today?
I've been out 5 years now. I've been out on license 5 years.
Sorry, yeah. Sorry, I mean oh yeah, sorry, of course, yeah. So you've been out. So what happened from coming out to being on the license for 5 years? Like, what's happened? What's the overview of that timeline?
When I was released, I was 34, had £40 to my name. Had to rebuild my life all over again from scratch. I started working in the gym as a personal trainer. Never took classes before, had no clients. So I had to then rebuild myself from nothing. We were flying, the gym was doing really well, and then lockdown hit. So once lockdown hit, the gym's closed. I've then had to adapt. But then I know
that feeling, man. That's one I can share with you.
It was sink or swim. But I seen an opportunity, and I thought, well, I've just gone through 5 years of bang up doing workouts in a prison cell. A lot of the time I didn't have gym, I'd have to find another way. So for me, it was kind of taking that routine and applying it to the civilian world. Began doing live workouts. I was on my next door's drive doing Instagram lives. That then gained some traction, continued with that. And then I developed a brand from that, Commando Charlie. So now I've got my own fitness app, still doing the live workouts. Brilliant. Now with dumbbells, but I've moved from outside the garage now to inside.
Wow.
that went pretty well. The gyms opened. I stayed on my own, still doing my app. And from there, then I've progressed into the High Rocks. So that came about like just over 2.5 years ago now.
Wow. Yeah, and it's that's blown up in itself, that alone, hasn't it?
Amazing.
Yeah.
I love it.
I've not actually done one myself, but I've been to a 2 or 3 to like watch other people that I know. So.
But even when you go as a spectator, how inspiring. Seeing the levels
of ability. It's like a nightclub. It's like a huge, like probably better.
High Rocks is a new night out.
Yeah, yeah.
High Rocks holidays. So I've managed in the last few months now, I've been to Nice, South of France World Championships High Rocks. I went to Poland. I've gone to Germany. I'm going to Berlin and Barcelona in the next few months, all doing High Rocks.
Amazing. Is that competing? And
competing.
So what's the High Rocks ambassador? How does that work then? Sorry, I know you've obviously got some sort of affiliation, so I don't really understand that side.
So basically, just as the ambassador, you're recognised with the several of us that are ambassadors within the community. We have little meetups. We've got a WhatsApp chat. You are kind of an extended voice from High Rocks within the community. So there's certain roles and responsibilities that we maybe have to take part in throughout the year.
Yeah, cool. So is that a big focus now? Is that part of your app to get people trained up for a High Rocks? You know, like what's if someone wanted to come and train with Commando Charlie now, like what are they expecting to sign up for? You know,
so I
if
still
there's any listeners that want to go and do it that are inspired, I certainly am. So.
I still do online. I work at a gym in Salford, Guerrilla Warfare, and I take High Rocks classes from there. They're a new High Rocks affiliated gym. And I've actually qualified for the World Championships this year, but it's in Chicago. So it means I can't go because of my criminal background with the record. So I've had to forfeit my place, and I've won 2 races. So that's 2 opportunities to go.
Is that just a United States thing on the whole then? Is it?
Yeah.
Because I know people have got criminal records in the past, and they struggled at first, but then does it get overturned eventually? I
think anything over like I might be wrong, a certain amount of years custodial, it's kind of a no, especially with drugs. I think I'd have to go through the embassy and go through the interview process and maybe try that route. Yeah. It's just I haven't really got the time now to do that before Chicago. Yeah. So it's something maybe for the future I'd have to look at.
Yeah, because the States is a great place. It's probably one place you don't want to not be able to go to, isn't it? So.
I spent so much time there as well doing the security. We'd be in California so much. With the Countess, she'd get a little plane, we fly over to Miami, spend the weekends there, kind of backwards and forwards from there in the Bahamas. So it's a shame I can't go back. To see.
It'll soon come, man. Whatever your path, you'll land there. So awesome. So we're going to wrap it up there. So anyone that's wanting to start their journey now, or they might be going through a tough time, and maybe about to make a decision of not really thought through too well, what would you say to them? For any listeners thinking that now.
Well, if there's anything that my journey's taught me, it's this: that your past doesn't define you. Yeah. We all make mistakes. We all face challenges, setbacks and failures. But every setback is an opportunity to come back stronger. Yeah. And as the saying goes, you're only one decision away from a different life, new path and a new beginning. So for anybody out there that does need to make that decision, I'd just say make that decision today. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Charlie. Cheers, man.
Cheers.
Appreciate it. Thanks, man.
All right, thank you, Paul.
Thank you. This is a bit where we get that nutty by the mic every time.